Hey, y'all, hey. It has been more than a minute, more than a minute. But you know what? We're going to talk about it because in this video, I'm going to catch y'all up, sort of, kind of, a little bit through the lens of budget. So we're going to talk about my life in July and the numbers, the budget from July, right? Almost like a budget review. But again, this is also like the whole, where have I been? What have I been doing? Now, I say I'm going to catch you up kind of, sort of, a little bit because honestly, a lot has been going on in our lives with my family. And a lot of the stories is not mine to tell. But put it this way. There's a lot of people on a lot of prayer lists right now. Okay. A lot of people on a lot of prayer lists. But let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. I feel like the month of July was almost like it was the best of times. It was the worst of times, right? So yeah, we started off July on a high, on a really big high, because we went on a major vacation. We went to Egypt for 15 days, okay? Huge. One of my life's dreams. I did not see that on my bingo card for this year. It was a last minute trip. I decided to do it for my 50th birthday because I turned 50 in June, okay? So it was like the major thing, like, you know what? This is going to be a big trip. So we spent a lot of money on this trip, but that money is not going to be reflected in the budget because we did go to savings and we did fund that trip through savings because again, nobody planned it. Nobody planned it. Okay. But let's talk about it. In the month of July, I made $18,622. Why so much? Because July was a 3 paycheck month for the most part. I got my calendar here too. Let's see. I can't even look because y'all my computer and y'all my camera. So there's no telling. And my nails are super raggedy right now. Look at this. Look at this. Look at this. My nails are saying it was the best of times. It was the worst of times. But, so with that $18,622, here's what we did with it. Cause y'all, I believe no matter how much money you make, no matter how much money you do not make, you should guide your life through a budget. You should know exactly what every single dollar in your budget, in your bank account, coming in, going out, you should know what it's doing. You should really know what it's doing, and you should be in charge and in control. It should never be a what had happened was moment, even though this is life, so it will be those moments. But technically, it should never be a what had happened was, because you should already know what's happening. What's happening. So let's talk about it. This is what I did with that money. $1,536 went to the mortgage, okay? I am on a journey to pay off my mortgage, but as you can see, my mortgage is pretty low. I have a 2.25% interest rate, and I do separate the escrow. So that is just the money that I send to the house. It does not include taxes. It does not include insurance, okay? We're going to see those numbers in elsewhere. So $119 went to the homeowner association. $46 was the gas bill, which is pretty awesome being that I do have a full house, y'all. $199 is the electricity. Now, that is also pretty low with the full house, but part of that is because, y'all, the whole AC is out on the first floor. The first 2 floors have no AC. So we have not been running AC, but because Jesus loves me, the house has stayed pretty cool. It does not get hot. So therefore, we never felt like this pressure to get this AC fixed. If ever it feels a little muggy or whatever, we just run a fan and it works. It works. The AC works on the second 2 floors. And we also have an additional AC unit in the loft that has been running. And I have a Lucid, so that gets plugged up to the electricity. And we have a hot tub that stays connected to the electricity all day, all night. And yet our bill is $199. So love that for us. Cell phone, and this is for 3 phones that are on my plan. Plus, it's for y'all, because you know y'all on the payment plan. Y'all on the payment plan. $207 for the cell phone. The internet service, $80, and that's for high-speed internet for the fastest speed that my neighborhood provides. Insurance. Now, this is where we will see the insurance for the house, as well as insurance for this car, as well as somebody else's insurance that I pay. So that's $540. The lawn service, $150 for the month. This good car right here, $429. Subscription services, guys, $106. Now, I do think my subscriptions got away from me a little bit. I do feel that there's two things that I see on our American Express credit card bill that shouldn't be coming out recurringly, but ain't nobody made time to handle it. It's like about a $16 charge, and then probably I think another $5 charge is coming out. So I need to get back on top of that and chase that down and cancel it forever, once and forevermore. Also that 106, that's because we also see our wine club fee is in that. In the past, I have separated that. It's about $48 a month, but we are going to cancel that as well. Some of you know that at one point I did get Jay a wine subscription to the Cooper's Hawk Wine Club, and that was a gift. But y'all, the gift has been given. He has gotten a lot of wine from this, and I'm ending it because you know what? I'm not even a fan of Cooper's Hawk wine like that, for real. And the wine subscription comes with my hair is like so straggly right now, so fly away. Anyways, the wine subscription does come with a monthly wine tasting where we can go out and have like a date night. Y'all, we never even make time to do that. Why? Because we travel a lot. So when we're not traveling, we're usually trying to catch up on work and catch up on being at home, right? So I am going to cancel that. That is one of the things on the to-do list because enough is enough. The other things on the subscription list is YouTube Premium, as well as Paramount Plus, okay? Dental. I had a $437 dental bill, and this was for retainers, y'all. I had gotten Invisalign, and I am going to make a video about that treatment. I was finished, but then I decided I'm not finished, okay? Because when you do Invisalign, you do get to do, what do they call it? It's your last appointment where you get to make corrections, refinements. So I decided I need some refinements because, yeah. So anyways, but I did pay for the final retainer, which was again $429. That gave me a set of 4 retainers. The problem with that is, and I got to figure this out, because when I had my last appointment, I had told her I wasn't quite feeling that my teeth settled the way they should settle. Like, I feel like, I don't know if any of you guys are familiar with Invisalign, right? But I feel like my final trays, I loved my teeth. I loved where they were. But then when we got into the final tray, what I noticed though is when I would not wear my retainer, my teeth would shift, right? And so I was like, not sure if where they're shifting is a problem for me, right? She has said to give them like about a month or so to settle, and then we'll revisit it. But in the meantime, my final retainers were ordered, which again, $437. And I feel like where those retainers, they don't push my teeth back to the position where they were, where the final trays of my Invisalign treatment pushed my teeth. The Invisalign treatment pushed my teeth to like this perfect beautiful shape. This retainer, it kind of keeps it in a little, y'all can see a little bit. Clearly my teeth are way better than they were. Let's be clear. They are. But they don't push my teeth back to where Invisalign, the Invisalign trays was pushing my teeth. I need them to do that. So she re-scanned me, and we're going to be getting some more Invisalign trays. And then I feel like we're going to have to get new retainers, and I gotta feel like, if we was gonna do this, why did I pay $4.29 for those if I gotta pay it again? So we're gonna see. The hopes are that it's all charged to the game and that they don't recharge me again for a new set of retainers. But even if they do, you know what? Lesson learned. And hopefully when I make my video about the Invisalign journey, anybody who's going to go through the journey can learn from my mistakes, because that's what this is about, y'all. That's what this is about. Let's help each other. And like I said, I watched a lot of videos on on other people's Invisalign journeys, and nobody ever presented that part. Or maybe they did, and maybe it just wasn't in my, maybe I just didn't grasp it because I wasn't on the journey, you know what I mean? So maybe they talked about it, but maybe it went over my head. Maybe that's what it was. I don't know. We'll see. So that's $437 for Invisalign. Credit card fee, because we be living our lives by credit cards. And that came to $495, and that is for an annual fee for one of my credit cards. Is it worth it? Yes, it's worth it. It's worth it for me. I'm an avid traveler, and I have talked about this in the past in other videos where I do the list, right, on how to figure out if credit card fees are worth it. Do the fees pay for themselves? Because they should. They really should. So yeah, so that's that. And then I had $209. Actually, let's add this up together. Well, $209 and then $226 in other business fees. Yeah, so whatever that equals, add them up. I don't know why I didn't add that up here, but oh well, whatever. $213 eating out. Those would be groceries and eating out, but honestly, I didn't buy any groceries. So it was all pure eating out for the month of July. And that, I know why that came in low. That came in low because, hold on, let's talk about it when we get to travel. But basically, I was pretty much gone for a good portion of the month of July. So we weren't home to buy groceries and such. And then the groceries that were purchased, Jay purchased them. Okay. And then $200 was spent on household miscellaneous, $92 on fun miscellaneous. And anytime I pull money from the ATM, I put it in my fun miscellaneous. Lashes, $105. And y'all, I'm so distracted because I'm looking at my brows. I just had my brows done and they were tinted. And I'm looking because I'm like, this, she, like, it's not right, but it's not right, but it's okay. Good Lord. It's distracting me though. Hopefully it's not distracting y'all. That in my flyaway hair is distracting me. Now let's get to travel. $3,580 was spent on travel in the month of July. Now, more was spent than that. And again, because money that I pulled from my savings to cover travel is not going to be in this budget because technically it's money that I've been budgeted and put away in savings for a time like this, right? We save up for opportunity. I know a lot of people say emergency fund for emergencies, but no. We save for opportunity. And the opportunity could be considered, something you wasn't planning for, like if the AC goes out and you got to get that fixed. But it's also for the opportunity of, hey, here's this awesome trip to Egypt and I want to be a part of that, okay? But this trip to Egypt, trying to think. Well, technically, whenever I get around to editing the videos for the trip to Egypt, we'll cover the expenses of how much this trip cost then. But it was over $15,000. But again, in this budget that came from the $18,622 that I made, $3,580 went to travel, Egypt. So again, about 16 days was spent in Egypt, y'all. We went to Cairo. We went to Luxor. We went to Aswan. We took a Nile River cruise. We went to Kamambo. We went to Edfu. We went to how you pronounce it? Hold up. I didn't write it down in my calendar. We went to Giza. We went to somebody. And I can't look it up because clearly y'all my computer. But we went to all of those places. So it was definitely worth it. And that price included our airplane tickets, our airfare. It included flights to from Cairo to Luxor. It included flights from Aswan to Abdul, Abhul, somebody. It included a 4-day Nile River cruise. And that was for 2 people. Okay. It was definitely a trip, a dream trip for me. Now, there was a lot of hiccups, y'all. There was a lot of hiccups. And I'm definitely going to make videos about that experience because it was a lot. It was a lot that went on, that happened. The tour guide that we went with tried to pass it off because we were Black, that we weren't being treated right in the country. But at the same time, I don't know if I'm ready to say that that was the reason. Because I don't know the tour guide's history with the country, right? I don't know how much of that was us and how much of that was him. I don't know. But there was a lot of drama with this trip. But even with the drama, it was still one of my most favorite trips. It was still one of my top 10 vacations, even with the drama. So I can't wait to tell y'all more about it and go into details and tell you how I really feel. And I say that because we were kind of, I don't know, I feel like they was trying to scare us from speaking the truth about what really happened. Almost like, be careful what you say on social media. But part of that, again, I don't know what you would call it. But I don't just take other people's word as law, right? So I don't know how much of that is true. Be careful what you say on social media because the government, the Egyptian government, or how much of that is be careful what you say on social media because I don't want you to taint the reputation of my business. Honestly, we paid, it was like $7,000 a person. Too much. Egypt should not cost that much. Too much. And honestly, I feel like with the things that happened, I feel like it was up to the people, the person who I paid to go on the vacation with should have refunded us some money back. I do. Because you as a business owner, you take on that risk. But of course, he wanted us to be more mad at the Egyptian government for stopping the itinerary that he promised us than him taking responsibility of the role he played in that. And the role he played in that is you're the organizer of the trip, and all things don't always go as planned, but you have to take on that risk and that liability, right? Because I've been on other trips with other people, when things go down like that, they have refunded us some money back because of that. But this guy instead wanted us to be all up in arms, in our emotions, and be mad at the Egyptian government. But I didn't give the Egyptian government my money. I gave my money to you, bro. And what I know for sure, because I'm a traveler, is I can do a trip to Egypt for a fraction of that price. So what that means is, while I gave that money to you, you're the one who made a huge profit. You're the one who would have money that you could have afforded to refund back the people who trusted you. I know I'm going into much about what I said I wasn't about to go into right now, but I'm just saying that's just how I feel about it, y'all. That's just how I feel about it. But like child, there's just a lot. There is just a lot. Oh my gosh, there's a lot. There's a lot. But it's still a great trip. Even with all of that, it was still a great trip. Because one thing that I'm not going to be held down. And I almost feel like what Candy Burst, I fly high above the drama. Was that the lyrics? Anyways, I rise above the drama. I fly high above the drama. I'm beyond the drama. So the drama could never stop my happiness, my good time, my good thing, especially when I pay that much money for it. We're gonna make it do what it do. And we did it. And we did it. So anyways, also in that $3,580, y'all, we went to New York, me and my girlfriends, Carla, Donna Maria, Lisa. We went to New York and we went to see the Broadway show, Joe Turner's Come and Gone. It was the last show and it was so freaking good. Debbie Allen was there. She was the director. And she was with the people. She was amongst the people. So that was really cool because, she was, before the show, she was out there in the lines, walking up and down the aisles. So she was very accessible. Taraji P. Henson and Cedric the Entertainer, they did their big one. And it was so interesting because when I was in Egypt, I was telling somebody I was going to see that play. And they was like, oh, well, I have a friend who went and seen it. And they said that Taraji and Cedric, they was only in it for like 10 minutes. They weren't even really in it, as if they were only lending their name to the show. But turns out that was a lie. They was in through that thing. Duh, they were the main characters. But it's just so interesting. Once again, it's just interesting. It's just interesting. It's just interesting. I was in Egypt, and at one point I was gonna buy this book. I was gonna buy the Egyptian Book of the Dead, which isn't its proper name. That's its more marketable name. But I was gonna buy that, and the same person was like, well, but you shouldn't. Why would you buy that? Because you could buy that anywhere. You could buy that anywhere. Yeah, I can buy that anywhere, but I'm in Egypt. I can buy it anywhere, but I can also say I bought this in Egypt, in the land where it was written, right? So it's that same person who also was like, they were only in it for like 10 minutes. And she was saying that, and it was so hard to understand that, no, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. So anyways, we did that. And then also Jay and I are going on a cruise that's going to leave out of Barcelona. So we finished paying that off. So some of that money went to that. And I was able to get me and his flights to Barcelona for free. We used points. And so we are paying $0 for our flight to and from Barcelona for 2 people. So that happened. Then out of this $18,622, even with all of that, $6,257 went to investments. So I'm so happy about that. And so the investments are 401k, HSA, IRA, and brokerage account. So $6,257 went there. And then an additional $700 went to savings. And that goes back to when I was saying that with the house, the taxes and stuff aren't taken out of the mortgage payment, escrow. I do that on my own. So I set aside $700 a month for when that bill pops up so that we can handle that with ease and with grace. Why not more, you ask? The reason why is because, hold on. The reason why is because I have reached a place in my financial life where I don't have to save up any more money. It would just be overkill, right? And so I'm giving myself more permission to spend, more permission to have fun with the money that I bring in, especially being that this time around having a job again. For those of you who know, I have been laid off in like 3 times in like, I feel like a year's span. It was like back to back to back. I would find a job. The next thing you know, the job had budget cuts. I would find a job. Then the job had budget cuts. Well, I'm on my 3rd job, right? And so I'm not taking it for granted. Nor am I thinking that this job is going to last forever. I mean, it would be nice if it lasts until I was ready to be gone. But I cannot rest on the laurels that I will always have a paycheck. But because I have been a great financial steward of my money, I am able to still relax and play with my money, right? So again, I still love the fact that we were able to take $62.57 and invest it for our future selves, right? And we're able to set aside $700 so that when taxes pop up, and I sent an additional $196 to the mortgage because it still is a goal of mine to pay off my home sooner rather than later. But even that's not like this big all or nothing push where it's like go scorch earth, get this house paid off. No, it'll be all right. It'll be all right. And we're going to have an update on our home payoff journey in another video. But right now, again, $196 extra went to the mortgage. And then $1,100 went to giving. Nope, just pure giving. There weren't any birthdays or anything like that. So $1,100 went there. I think my mama and them went on a cruise, my mother and my sister, so I gave them some extra spending money for that. And, you know, just little gifts here and there. So when all of that was said and done, I still had $1,396 left over. Now, typically at the end of the month, y'all know when we close out a month, what we would do is give every single dollar an assignment. So usually that 1,396 will go somewhere, whether it's to the brokerage account, because I'm maxing out the IRA, I'm maxing out the 401k to include catch up, and I'm maxing out my HSA. So after all of that's maxed out, the only other thing we have is brokerage. So I could either do that, or I could either just put it in my savings for another opportunity, or I could send it to my house. But what I did is I let it be. I left it alone because I knew we were having some more things pop up in the next month of August, right? So I knew I was going to use it for that rather than have to pull it from my savings account later. Also, and some of you guys know this because you've seen the video. When we came back from Egypt, y'all, almost like the last days in July. Hold on. Yeah, it was a Friday. Some of y'all seen the video. As I said, July was like the best of times, the worst of times. Plus, it was a lot of other stuff that happened in July to family members. Heavy stuff, right? So best of times, worst of times. My grandma passed away. My grandmother on my father's side. And I want to say that because I know a lot of you guys have been watching the channel for a minute, and I don't want you to get confused with my grandmother on my mother's side. She's still with us. She's still up and kicking, okay? But my grandma on my father's side passed away. I want to tell y'all a little something about death. Trying to get comfortable, y'all. Good Lord. Trying to hold this camera, trying to get comfortable, trying to make this hair look like it's doing something. I just feel like maybe it's because it's like so light and it's like staticky and frizzy and just not laying right. But anyways, I want to tell y'all something about death. I want to tell y'all something about my grandmother. And some of you seen the video Eye in the Sky, for those of you who haven't seen my tribute to her. But this is what happened. On a Friday, she woke up on a Friday. And y'all, this is the grandmother. When we talked about my financial goals and I said I want to buy my grandmother a chair, a better bed chair, remember? Her. Never did get around to buying that bed chair. Never got around to buying her that chair. She never complained. She never complained. She woke up on a Friday and she was thirsty. So my aunt gave her some juice, right? Some orange juice. But in the meantime, my aunt goes to work normally. And when my aunt will go to work, what did you call it? A caregiver will come and sit with my grandmother for the day. Well, that caregiver called out that day, that Friday. She called out. So my aunt called in to be like, she's going to be late to work. And she called some other family members, cousin, to see if she can come sit with my grandmother. But then she decided at the last minute, she said, you know what? I'm just going to stay home today. So she called back in and was like, yeah, I'm just going to take off because, you know, the caregiver, the aide called out. And so as my grandma drank her juice, she was like, oh, you going to work? And my aunt was like, no, I'm going to stay home today. And my grandma was like, oh, good. Oh, good. She finished her juice and she gave it back to my aunt and said, thank you. And then she says, oh, can I go back to sleep now? And my aunt was like, yeah, go ahead, go back to sleep. And so my grandma sat down in her chair and said, this feels good. And then my aunt went into the kitchen to make some pasta salad. And then when she came out of the kitchen back into the living room, she says normally, like her walking from the kitchen to the living room will, like, you know, my grandma would respond to, like, she'll jump, she'll acknowledge it, like the disturbance in the air from my aunt walking from there to here. But she didn't do that this time. So my aunt sat down on the couch and looked at her and was like, Caroline. And grandma, no response. And then my aunt said, Caroline, you didn't die on me, did you? Because she was like, she, you know what else to say. It was just the first thing that popped into her head. You didn't die on me, did you? And then she checked. And she checked. And there was no response from my grandmother. There was no response. So my aunt called 911, 911. And, you know, they told her to do CPR, but my aunt's like, she knows how to do CPR. So my aunt's giving my grandma CPR and that whole thing. The ambulance come. They bring my grandma to the hospital. And they pronounced her gone. They pronounced her gone. But think about this, y'all. My grandma's last words were, this feels good. Think about this. My grandma was not sick. She was not in a state of decline. You know, we're all aging. So aging could be considered a state of change, right? But she was not in this state of decline. She was not ill. She was of sound mind and presence. So sound, she knew she was thirsty and wanted something sweet. Here's the orange juice. So present, she knew my aunt normally goes to work and is like, oh, you're not going to work today. And my aunt is like, no. And she's like, oh, good. Because my grandma had a plan. She had a plan. How many of us say when we get older, the best way to go is peacefully in our sleep? My grandma woke up that morning, Friday, Good Friday. She woke up that morning, checked the temperature, checked her temperature. I'm thirsty. Took note of what was going on and decided today's a good day to say goodbye. My aunt did not have to be at work to receive a phone call. My grandmother did not have to be in the presence of a stranger. Not to say it was a stranger. I can't speak to the relationship of her and the caregiver, but the caregiver is not family, right? She didn't have to be in the presence of somebody who wasn't her own child, her loved one, the person who she brought into this earth, who could be there to witness her leave this earth. My grandmother did that. And I feel like it's a gift to teach us all something about dying, something about how we aspire to go peacefully, without drama, without complaint, peacefully. Sitting in a chair that your granddaughter wanted to upgrade, but still, it felt good. My grandmother gave me the model, the blueprint of how I too would love to go one day if I am so lucky. If I am so lucky with my loved ones in my home, feeling good, a little something sweet on my tongue, a little something sweet in my heart, feeling good. I'm going to go back to sleep now. I woke up, now I'm going to go back to sleep. Forever. forever. At the hospital, the doctors, they examine what happened. That's protocol. And the doctor was so astounded because he said no trauma took place. There were no signs of a heart attack, no signs of a stroke, no signs of nothing. She went to sleep. Because the funny thing about my grandmother is, first of all, she never wanted to be on camera. She never wanted to be on camera. So at first, when I was pulling together the footage that I did have, I thought it was going to be like this series of get that camera off me, get that camera off me, get that camera off me, because there was a lot of that, right? But every time we would go see her, and when we would be getting ready to leave, because she's in Rhode Island, we're in Virginia. When we'd be getting ready to leave, we'd be like, okay, we'll see you next time. And her whole thing was, if I'm still here, if I'm still here, if I'm still here. So my grandmother, one of the things at her homegoing, which was the last day of July, another Friday, she passed on a Friday and her homegoing was the very next Friday. One of the things that I didn't do, me who documents everything, I wish I would have done. My grandma had 7 children. One had passed away in the 80s, a long, long time ago. My Aunt Mimi. I believe in saying their name. Say their name. My Aunt Mimi, I didn't even realize her name was Domini. I think that's how you pronounce it. We always called her Mimi. I never even met her. But her legacy was so strong that I knew my Aunt Mimi. Right? Say their name. So my Aunt Mimi had passed away a long, long time ago. But her other 6 kids were there for the first time all together in over 30 years. I did not capture a picture. My father, Lance, my uncle, Manny, which is Manuel. His name is Manuel. Didn't even realize his name was Manuel. And then I have a nephew named Emmanuel. And my nephew Emmanuel's birthday is the same birthday as my grandma, the grandmother who just passed. So didn't even realize that connection. So my uncle Manny, my Aunt Stacy, my Uncle Dwayne, my Aunt Deidre, also known as Abba, and my Aunt Stephanie. They were all together for the first time in like over 30 years. Did not take a picture. But we made it happen, y'all. We made it happen. That's how my July ended. The highs and the lows. It started high. We were in Egypt, tracing our ancestry because Jay has Egyptian ancestry. We were in Egypt giving thanks to the ancestors, honoring the ancestors. And then by the end of July, my grandma went on to become an ancestor, my ancestor. It was the best of times. It was the best of times.